talk. Welcome to I Want to Talk. I don't know, man. This is just difficult, for lack of a better word. I just can't seem to get the time to get ahead on these podcasts, and I'm running and gunning. Right now, I am in New Orleans. Listen, you can hear the Mardi Gras for Mardi Gras. The Mardi Gras parade is still going on. Listen. So there's a parade going by my building, and I came here to town because I was a celebrity guest for one of the crews. There's a ton of different crews, Krewe, crews, and who do the parades. And so I was the crew of Pontchartrain. My wife's cousin is one of the captains on the crew, and he's been trying to get me down to be a celebrity guest. And honestly, riding in a Mardi Gras parade, if you follow me, see, I put some stuff on Instagram and Twitter for you to check out some footage. But it was a bucket list kind of thing, one of those crazy things. Now, I've done parades and stuff before. A different type of experience was I was in Chicago when I was doing the Rock and Roll Christmas Tale, and I was on a float, just me, on this like Princess Castle, giant castle, riding down Michigan Avenue. It was called the Festival of Lights, or the Lighting Festival, or the Light Parade, or something. Basically, when they light up Michigan Avenue, they light up for Christmas, for the holidays. And there was like 1 million people. It was like a rare, warm. It happened in November. So it was a warm November night in Chicago, and people turned out. It was like 1 million people, and I am riding down Michigan Avenue like a fairy princess, just on the top of this castle, doing the Queen wave, throwing horns. One of those surreal freaking moments in your life. Mardi Gras was something that I'd never been to, and I wanted to experience. So I had this offer to ride on the Pontchartrain float, standing offer, and finally we were able to work it out. And what was really cool was that I got to bring my family with me. So they were Suzette and 3 of my 4 children. They're adults now. They were riding the float with me, which was a cool experience. So I got to do a thing called the second walk. That's weird. Second walk, apparently it comes from the New Orleans funeral processions. You've seen them where the band plays and everybody sort of dances and walks through the streets in celebration of the life. Well, the first walk was the lead group at a funeral. The second walk was the second group that came after the family, I guess. And if I'm inaccurate here, please, there's a lot of information imparted to me over the past couple of days. So they call it the second walk, and basically led by the police with a banner representing your crew. And I was up front, walking the streets. You basically push your way down Bourbon Street, and you got a marching band behind you blasting. And you're just like throwing beads out to people, just winging the beads. That's the thing, throwing beads. And then when you get to the end, there was like a destination, and you're up on a balcony, and then there's just a sea of people, and I posted stuff on that, and you're just throwing beads out to them, and everybody just wants beads. And the days of show us your tits, beads throwing, or show us your dick, and there's something called, what the hell is the gay one called? There's a gay kind of Mardi Gras. I'm forgetting the name. Oh, Decadence, which I was at inadvertently. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It was an awesome experience. But we came down to New Orleans to visit said cousin, and coincidentally, Decadence was going on. So we were walking the streets during Decadence, which is the gay Mardi Gras, and it's a party. It's a party. A lot of dick. A lot of dick. So the show us your tits thing, it's still going on, but they're trying to make it more family friendly. So during the day, you don't see any of that, and nobody's calling for it, encouraging it. When you get to night, when the sun goes down on Bourbon Street and people are getting shit faced, there's a lot more of that action going on, a lot more of that crazy, like on every corner, there's a nipple glitter station. Because, you got to have nipple glitter if you're going to be showing tits. And of course, the grotesque thing is a lot of guys there, fat guys, getting nipple glitter on their B or C cups. So it's not, there's I always say there's the beach, I should say the illusion or the romantic version of what it's like at Mardi Gras. And then there's Mardi Gras reality. And I always say there's beach fantasy and beach reality. Beach fantasy is like a commercial or on TV where it's just, beautiful guys and beautiful girls and everybody's hot bodies and just, it's hotness. And when you get to beach reality, not so much. Not so much. I don't know where those beautiful people are, but they ain't hanging out at the beach. And the same goes for Mardi Gras. The Mardi Gras fantasy is that there's all these, hot models whipping their tops up. Yeah, not so much. It's you kind of want to say, don't whip them out. So no offense. So I did the second line. That was an amazing experience. And then we did the parade yesterday, and that was cool as shit. Because it's just thousands and thousands of people, and they're all screaming D, which is, but they just want freaking beads. I mean, they just want freaking beads, and all you can do basically, you get up there and you're just buried in beads, up in your station, up at the top. My family's up there, and it's just beads, and then from the minute you start rolling, it's just nonstop throwing beads. It's just all you do is because it's just everybody wants beads, and they're just piling them up. So for 8 miles, and it took about 3 hours. You're laughing, you're smiling, but my shoulder's shot today from throwing damn beads. It's crazy. So here I am at Mardi Gras, and I'm getting ready to, I'm like, oh man, I want to talk, I went on hiatus, came back, I want to keep this thing rolling, and I got things I want to talk to you about. I've started to sort of tune into the fact that what you want me to talk about is very clear by your reactions to things I say on social media. The things you react to are the things you're interested in. And sometimes I'm like, I say many things and I expect people to be interested because I like to think that I'm fairly, I'm fairly astute, and I've got some, intriguing points of view, and and observations, and I've done things, and I'm relatively intelligent. So I kind of think, people are going to be interested, and you could care fucking less. Then other things, like the time I posted I love pancakes, and that exploded on Twitter, much to my chagrin. But there's other things like that. Okay, like we talked about the NFL and the music they play, and that was went crazy on social media. That was my biggest social media reaction. But I noticed that as a rule, the things you react most to are things that have some connection to music. Like when I talk about music, I guess I've got a modicum of credibility with you people. So my opinion is taken as it has a certain amount of weight. Of course, there's the trolls who just, who gives a shit when you say, or, are you still alive? Or, why are you not dead? Things like that. But for the most part, it does seem that you're more interested in the things I have to say when it's music related. Hence, it's today. That's the sunlight coming in from the outside. Today's subject matter, which is Metallica. I said something in a Q&A at a convention I did in Detroit. It's called, I forgot the name. Oh, I feel really bad about that too. It was a good one. From the Twisted guys, Twitzed. Much mad respect to you guys because they're rappers, music guys who are trying to expand their business presence and have started a very solid horror convention. It was great, really well run, really great job. And why is the name escaping me? But anyway, so I went there and I did a Q&A hosted by the DJ Meltdown from WRIF, the Riff. Yeah, right, in Detroit. Love the Riff. Great rock radio station. Been around forever. And they and we talked about stuff. And one of the subjects that came up was Metallica. And I don't know why. Like, they say, well, why would Metallica come up at a Dee Snider interview? I'm sort of into free-flowing thought, one idea leading to another. And, I'm sure something came up about touring or some experience, and, the name was mentioned, and I took the opportunity to speak about the band because I have some strong feelings about them, and they're good feelings about the band. So let me give you a little history, Dee Snider, with Metallica, so you know where I get my point of view. Metallica's first contact with me / Twisted Sister was one of their first gigs on the East Coast of Long Island, okay? It was, I don't know the year, but they were just starting out. They hadn't had record 1 out yet. I was informed Mustaine was out of the band by this time. So, and they were opening for Twisted, a guy named Johnny Z, a local record store owner. Johnny Z, who you guys may know or may be reacting to that name already. He was a local record store owner, and he was a nut. He used to promote bands. He'd wear an army helmet, and he was just a pain in the ass. And he was pushing this very heavy side of metal. Twisted, there was a discussion, are we a metal band? At our core, we are. Well, actually, if you go to the very, very beginnings, before I joined, it was a glitter rock band. I came in, I'm a metalhead. I like glitter rock. I joined a glitter band as the songwriter. I combined my love of Priest and AC/DC and and Sabbath and all that. And Slade, let's not forget Slade, big influence on me. But I combined that with also my love of glitter, and I like to think that had a lot to do with creating that 80s metal sound. At least, what became hair metal. And it's a shame that, a lot of my peers, they really resent that name. I say, you know what? You can't fight it, so you might as well just embrace it. It is very polarizing. And when we first Twisted started out, it wasn't called hair metal. We were just a metal band and a weird metal band. Our earliest shows in England were with Motorhead, and there was nobody. This was 82, 83. Nobody was wearing makeup anymore. I think Kiss took it off by that point. I'm not sure. You guys know, but we're championing it. Okay, people hadn't heard, except down in California, Motley Crue and the Rats and the Poisons and the other glam bands. They didn't exist. Twisted Sister was carrying a torch from 1973. Really 76 when I joined, because the band was getting ready to drop the image. And I said, no way. I love this shit. So I was, even though the band started dressing less and less, I dressed more and more. And when I met Suzette, she started sort of pushing me to be more experimental. Hey, why don't you try this with your eyes? Why don't you try this? And so she kept pushing me. The story goes that, like, when she met me, I had a little makeup on, right? And I was wearing thigh-high leather boots, stockings, Daisy Duke shorts, T-shirts that I'm Dee below me, and really long-sleeve gloves. I think I had a studded collar on, and a little bit of makeup. So when we started going out, she started saying, well, why don't you try, nail polish? And I go, I'm not wearing no nail polish. I'm not a fag. Like, I'm already again, I'm speaking as the guy who's wearing women's clothing on stage at this point. So yet I still in my head had this like stupid macho suburban blue collar asshole sort of, I don't know, like sort of reaction to the idea that I might be gay, which I don't understand. I don't understand, and I got over it pretty quickly. But so she's like, no, come on, just try a little black. And I like, okay, I put some black nail polish on. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. This is like 76, And I'm like, oh. And then black led to purple, led to blue, led to red, led to pink. And for a good 10 years of my career with Twisted, I had pink nail polish on every night. So, and I didn't want to, I'm not wearing no, and the lipstick. Suzette goes, why don't you put a little lipstick on? I had a little, I called it rouge back then, on my cheeks and a little gray on my eyes, and I'm not wearing no lipstick. And she goes, oh, just, look, just a little clear gloss. And she had this tray that had about, I guess, maybe 9 different shades of lipstick. And at one end was clear gloss, at the other end was bright red. So I said, well, now mind you, my masculinity is reinforced by the fact that I now have this hot girlfriend. So I'm feeling fairly confident. I never really had any doubts, but at the same time, I had like, well, I got a hot girlfriend. So she's like, try just a little, and she takes her finger and she puts it in the little like a color palette, and she wipes some gloss on me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's all right. So I go out, and so now every night I put on a little gloss. Well, the gloss runs out, and so I'm looking at the next, it's kind of a beige. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just put beige on. So I put beige on, and over the course of about a month or two, by the end, I am bright red lipstick, and that's where I stayed. Pink nail polish, bright red lipstick. These were Suzette's ideas. So anyway, but we're embracing, we're carrying the torch for this thing. But the earliest shows, we're out there touring. We're opening one of the big shows that I've spoken about was opening for Motorhead. And Lemmy was a huge champion of Twisted Sister. And, and we were on tour with, major tour with Iron Maiden was one of our biggest tours. And, doing shows with Saxon and Anvil. I always like to say that we were very much a part of the new wave of British heavy metal, even though we weren't British, because we moved to England to get our record deal and to break out, even though we were regionally massive in the Northeast. And if you saw We Are Twisted documentary, We Are Twisted Fucking Sister, you kind of get an understanding of how big the band was regionally. But it was going to England and plugging into the Nwabum scene, with and standing amongst the Motorheads and the Maidens and the Anvils from Canada, but Saxon, and all these bands. And Twisted Sister was there in the thick of things with them, So we were very much a part of the metal scene that was coming, and we were just a weird metal band. That was our, thing. It was, there was Motorhead looked like bikers, and, Maiden looked like, I don't know what they look like. Spandex wearing soccer players with long hair. I don't know. And Twisted was costumes and makeup, but we were a metal band. So when you go back to, I was talking about that huge, so our first run-in with Metallica, we were this huge regional band, and we were playing for 1,000 to 4,000 people 5 nights a week in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut region. Okay, 5 nights a week for years, massive. We had security. We were these mega stars in a microcosm without a record deal. We did a free outdoor. There was an outdoor concert series going on, and this amusement park was having a free concert each week, and they'd hire a local band to play, and they were doing between like 300 and 800 people a night, once a week, in a back parking lot. So they asked Twisted to play. I said, great, sure. 23,000 people showed up, unsigned. It was a free concert with Twisted Sister in the summertime. 23,000, and Kiss was playing a half a house at Madison Square Garden that same night. Thank God, because if they weren't, we would have been crushed. We were banned from all the Northeastern outdoor shows for years because they had a handful of security people for the expected 500 turnout they thought they were going to get. They couldn't control 23,000 people. People just parking their cars for miles, abandoned vehicles, just to get to the concert site. So we were huge. So we were doing a show at a place called Fountain Casino in New Jersey. And I didn't find this out till years later when we toured with Metallica. And that was that Metallica opened for Twisted. That guy, Johnny Z, who wound up signing Metallica and signing Anthrax, I believe, and maybe Slayer, I'm not sure. He started Megaforce Records. You know Megaforce. And then Johnny Z, I've already said this to him. I said he was a pain in the ass and an idiot back in the day. The guy had vision. I was wrong. He was right. And I'm going to tell you how wrong I was in a second. And most of you have seen this on social media already because it was picked up by everybody. And I'm a very, very honest person. So I didn't find out that Metallica had opened one of their first ever gigs on the East Coast, opened for Twisted, until we toured with Metallica in 1984. 84 in Holland, I believe it was. Could have been some other European countries. Holland stands out to me, meeting up with those guys. I remember meeting those guys and James, everybody, and Cliff, and we were just marveling at the toilet bowls in Holland because I don't know if they're still the same, but they have a shit shelf. And the way, unlike the toilet bowls in the United States, which have a pool of water that you crap into and then you flush it, in Holland, they had a toilet bowl that had a porcelain shelf, so the shit sat on it. So when you got off, there was your work, just sitting, steaming. I remember it being cold. It was probably wintertime. It was cold enough out there. And, it was early spring, late spring. And it was, and then when you flushed the toilet, water came down the back and washed your work into the hole with the water. It was an odd system and oddly disquieting. And I just popped in my head that here's like the first Twisted Sister Metallica conversation in a hotel room. Like, what's with the toilets? Like, dude, it's insane. We're just all talking about how, and I mean, people say that, I think Tim Allen once said that men like to take a look at the shit in the toilet to see what they'd made because it's the only thing we actually birth, but not so much when it's just sitting there raw in the wild, so to speak. And that's what, so I remember it was talking about you take a dump and then you stand up and turn around to flush, and there it is, just sitting there, with whatever you ate the night before. Maybe there's an eyeball in it, and the shit shelf. That just popped in my head, like my first conversation with the guys. So we toured together, and this is the and when I meet the guys, they go, "Hey, we opened for you." Like, you open for us? Because I was aware of Metallica now. They had, a couple albums out. Ride the Lightning was out at the time we were touring with them. And we would just release Stay Hungry. Just released Stay Hungry. So we were just coming through, breaking through. And and I said, when did you play with us? And they said, we opened for you guys at a club in New Jersey. It was moms. There was like 4,000 people there. It was crazy. And I was like, dude, sorry I missed it. I was putting on my makeup. Whenever on the headline, I was always putting on my makeup. It was a 2-hour process to put on the face and put on the costume and get ready. So it was 2 hours. So I never saw the opening band. Never saw them. So I missed Metallica in a very early show, which would have been kind of cool to see. And if you look online, you'll see, Fountain Casino, Twisted Sister with Metallica, like this little, right? So now we're on the road with Metallica. And great guys. We got along great. Do I have any clear memories of anything? Just all cool people. So we're in Holland, and we start. So Stay Hungry is just out, okay? So we release in the States. We come out here, and we're touring in Europe. Oh, out here. We're touring in Europe. It's very early. The record hasn't broken yet. And Ride the Lightning is just out as well. So this pops in my head right now, but this leads to what I'm saying. So I was looking at both of our album covers, and our album cover says in the bottom corner, it says distributed by WEA, Warner Elektra Atlantic. That's what WEA was. That's it. And that was our distributor. We were on Atlantic Records. When I looked at Metallica's record, in the corner where it says distributor, there was a block of text. A block. And it had a different distribution for every country in the world. And this spoke to me immediately, said, wow, these guys are doing it. This was Megaforce Records. They are doing it. And you're saying, oh, I thought they were on Elektra. Elektra, not initially, and Elektra Records bought their contract. Bought from Johnny Z for gazillion dollars. That's what the Z in Johnny Z is, for gazillion. So I'm just looking, and I'm noticing, I said, man, these guys are not, they're not going the easy route. It's country to country with these guys. They were heavy. They were heavy before other bands. Now you say Slayer was out. Yes, there was the Anthrax was out. There was definitely the big four were out there. And all those guys deserve credit. But when you were going that route, there was nothing commercially viable at that point as far as record companies were concerned. And so you had to, if you weren't willing to adapt or change, and not that Twisted changed. Let me just tell you, I always felt Twisted Sister was commercially viable. Even though we couldn't get a record deal, it never understood why a band whose main influences were Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Slade, and Alice Cooper, all bands with huge selling records. Slade, the Americans don't know, but one of the biggest bands in the world in the 70s, everywhere but. They wrote Come On Feel the Noise, Mama We're All Crazy Now. They were massive. They broke the Beatles records for number one hits in England. But everywhere in the world, massive band except the United States. And a lot of us, like Kiss and Cheap Trick and Twisted Sister, were influenced by Slade. Huge influence on me. That's where I got my anthems from, inspired by Slade. But I never understood, people would say, oh, this band will never sell, this band will never sell. If all your influences are artists who have platinum and gold albums and are commercially successful, how can you not sell? How can you not be commercially viable? So I always knew we were commercially viable. And time would prove that we were. Metallica, on the other hand, there was nobody out there doing what they were doing. Yes, Slayer and Anthrax. Yes, I know, but I'm just saying on the commercial front. There was no example to say, well, why can't, Ride the Lightning, why can't Whiplash be a hit? Because, Blankety Blank had a hit with a similar song. You couldn't say that with Metallica. So I looked at their album cover and said, damn, these guys are hardcore. With massive respect for that they were just, and they weren't They were just very jeans and t-shirt. It had a lot of hair, but it wasn't combed out, fluffed out, you know. And again, it wasn't. This is '84. The hair metal thing hadn't really broken out yet, so it wasn't really like full blown hair metal. There was something brewing. But, you know, you're going to say, yeah, but Quiet Riot was out there, and Ratted just had the record come out, and Motley was out there. Yes, yes, yes. But we weren't calling it hair metal yet. Yet, there was a growing thing going on. And here's Metallica. Homie don't play that. They were not changing their look. They were just jeans and t-shirts, and they were heavy as fuck. We do our first show with them, where Metallica goes on first, and Holland is already hungry for Metallica. And we walk out and we play our Stay Hungry oriented set. And I'm looking at this audience, and they're not interested in the We're Not Gonna Take It's of our catalog. They're interested in the Under the Blades, the Burning Hells, Can't Stop Rock and Roll. After that first show, we went back and just rewrote our set. We said, okay, we got to pull out like all the big guns, because these people are not interested in anything remotely poppy. Now, mind you, now we go to Holland. I mean, they're just, if I don't play, We're Not Gonna Take It. I'm gonna be tarred and feathered. They fucking love it. But back then, early '80s, you know, all I saw was Venom shirts for miles. These people were into black metal, death metal in Holland. They were so hardcore. Same experience I had touring with Anvil over there as well. Is just seeing you know, we needed to construct our set to appeal to the audience that was there. And we would eliminate a lot of things that were like, you know, I don't even think we played We're Not Going to Take It. Even though it was our single. It was like, these people do not want to hear this shit. So leading up to the time that I said Metallica is never going to go anywhere, which is the headline that you saw in so many rock magazines. And I'm glad that most of them represented it as me being honest and me was not being critical. So we get to a town. Now, mind you, we're playing these shows, and Metallica is one of those bills. You know, you get opening bands. People are there to see Metallica. It's like when we toured with Maiden later in '84. It was, you know, from 7 o'clock, the house was packed at these arenas, and people are there to see Twisted. They're there to see Maiden. They're losing their minds. Both bands are bringing it. Same was Twisted Sister Metallica. Both bands are bringing it. And Metallica, people are hungry for Metallica. They're hungry for Twisted, Metal Twisted. And and the show's great. We pull into town. I don't remember which town it is, but Metallica actually talks about it in one of their books or documentaries, that this was like a turning point show. And I wonder if they remember what Twisted Sister did that night. I would hope they do, because it had to be, because I know they were shocked by it. We pull into town, and there's posters everywhere for the show. And it says, Twisted Sister, this big on top, with Metallica. Metallica is like 20 times the size of us. They've got the Metallica gargoyle head, that early logo Metallica was using. I don't know if it seemed to be on the t-shirts and stuff at the time. So I don't know if it was a logo. I really didn't follow Metallica at that point. I didn't know much about them, you know? So we roll into town, and Twisted is never, I'm not saying we're not ego driven, but we're not that band that is going to play longer than people are interested in hearing us. We're not the band, you know, we get these bands that play like a 2-hour set and nobody gives a shit. We're not the band that's going to demand the headline slot if you're not a headliner. Pulling into town, seeing those posters, we looked at each other and said, these people are coming to see Metallica. Our name is big. I'm serious. It was little on the posters. We were the headliners, so they had it, but they knew, the promoters knew who the people in that town were coming to see. Metallica. So we're backstage, and I said, listen, go tell James and Lars and the guys that they can close tonight. We'll open. Right? I mean, that just makes sense. You know, if they are the people that you're most interested in seeing, they should close. We'll go on first. So our road manager goes back, and Joe Gerber, who, I've talked about him in my book, and a very important part of Twisted History, also was sitting at my right hand at the Senate hearings, dark-haired guy wearing a denim and leather over there on my right side. He worked extensively with me on my speech. He was Columbia University graduate, so he and I woodshedded that thing for 2 weeks to make that speech as lethal as it was. I'm smart. Joe's smarter. He was literally studying to be a rocket scientist before he decided to be a tour manager. Okay? So, I mean, those are my words, but it was, I credit where credit's due. You know, he and I worked on to make sure that speech was bulletproof. And that, that I was going to take these motherfuckers apart. But I'm not talking about that today. Joe comes back, and he goes, I'm getting ready for the show. He goes, they said no. Who said no to what? He said, Metallica said no to closing. I said, why they say no? I mean, because you want to be the headliner. And here they were getting a chance to move from opening slot to be headliner. That means, by the way, you get the full stage. Your shit gets set up first, so the band is in front of you. The other bands go in front of you. You've seen that. So it means you have less stage space when you're the opener. I remember opening for Ronnie James Dio, and we had so little space because those huge, stupid stage sets he used to have. They were really cool, I know, but if you have to play in front of them, they're stupid. And, and just like Kiss, you had to set up in front of his stage. And they wouldn't move shit an inch. Ronnie would not move shit an inch. And I say Ronnie because his tour, we were so frustrated, Twisted, opening for Dio. And that was after we came back to the States with Metallica, because we were pushed so far to the edge of the stage, the lights were shining behind us. The audience couldn't see us. We were in silhouette. And when we tried to talk to the crew, they say, you can't, don't talk to me about, I remember this, so I talked to Ronnie, and Ronnie says, how's it going, D? I said, oh, it's great, Ronnie, great to be with you, man, but we got no stage space, and we're in front of the lights, people can't even see us. And Ronnie goes, oh, man, that sucks, man. Nice guy, right? So we start pushing to get them to just move some of this props on the stage, and Ronnie, and they're like, oh, we can't move that. I'm not in charge of that. You got to talk to blankety blank, the stage manager. So you go to the stage manager. He goes, oh, you got to talk to blankety blank, the tour manager. You go to the tour manager. He goes, oh, you got to go to blankety blank, the manager. You go to the manager. Oh, no, you can't move those. Ronnie said, don't move them. Oh, damn, man, that sucks. It was his edict. His rule. He said, don't move anything for anybody. But that's old school rock and roll where this goes back to the 60s and 70s, and bands wouldn't move equipment like the opening band suffered. You got less lights, you got less sound, you got less stage space, no accommodation, and that was considered paying your dues. So so Ronnie just viewed it. I don't hold it against him. That was, it probably happened to him when he was coming up with Elf and then Rainbow. And, he's like, hey, you're paying your dues. So, we paid our dues, and, and I love Ronnie, but that's the true story about Ronnie. So going back to Metallica going on before us, even though we were willing to move equipment, there's still, your equipment drum set takes up a certain part of the stage. So you're set up in front, less stage space. It's just, I don't know, not physics, but let's use the word physics. You know what I mean? There's a certain square footage. Equipment takes up a certain square footage, leaving you X amount, and you set up your equipment, and this is your space. So here, Metallica has a chance to headline, and they say no. And I said, why did they say no? And he goes, and Joe Gerber says, I think they were suspicious. Nobody does that. They were like, why are they giving us the headline slot? So that, and what I'm saying to you, that people didn't do that, you know, it was so ingrained that bands didn't do that. They were suspicious that we were up to something. So I personally went into the room. I said, guys, look at the posters. Their audience is here to see you. We're not up to nothing, man. This is just fair. This is just right. Twisted doesn't look. Have we cut your people? What opening the headliners used to do is cut the sound system, cut the lights. I said, guys, have we taken anything from you guys? You have full sound, you have full lights. We're not that band. I said, and when we walk in here and see this, you're the headliner. Take the stage, man. So with that, they said, okay. And because they closed that night, I finally got to see Metallica on stage because I would only hear their set, just like, I would only hear their set because we were closing the show and I'd be putting my makeup on. But because we were opening, I had to be ready first. We go out, we perform, leave the stage, take my makeup off, get undressed. Metallica takes the stage, and I say, Mark Mendoza, my bass player, we were the biggest metalheads in Twisted. Me and Mark were metalheads. And we're like, oh, good, let's go check out Metallica. So we go up and we watch them from the side stage. And, the audience was rabid. Clearly, it was their crowd. I'm so glad we made that change. It was the right move to make. But I'm watching the set, and I'm going, wow, this is great. This is great. But I remember I said it out loud, and this was the thing. And I turned to Mendoza, and I said, these guys got a lot of heart, but they're never going to go anywhere. And Mendoza said, yeah. Now, why would you say that? Well, first of all, nobody gets it right all the time. Second, it wasn't that I didn't think they were great. It was just they were so fucking heavy. Who was going to play Metallica on the radio? Who was going to play? How would Metallica ever break through? This is what I'm thinking. But go back to that block of text on their record. These guys did it on their way. They didn't change one iota for the audience. They made the audience change for them. They made the industry change for them. And this is why they deserve so much respect, so much credit. And when people talk about the Napster situation, which I think was just, I don't disagree with Lars. I just think he mishandled it. He should have handled it better. But people say, oh, they got enough money, whatever. I don't care if they're fucking billionaires. These guys earned every fucking dollar. They didn't give an inch. They did it their way, and they deserve everything. And that was something else that got picked up by me. So any Metallica bashing, unfair. And they didn't give an inch. Okay, so some people saying, what about Alternica? Listen, first of all, that Load record was awesome. It was a great record. I'm not a day one diehard Metallica fan, so I wasn't invested in Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning the way you Master of Puppets, the way you hardcore fans are. So I didn't have that, and I understand when you're that invested how changes can bother you, because I'm an early Queen fan, and Queen started much heavier, always melodic, but they changed when you got to Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle and bullshit like that. And I, as an original Queen fan, I was disheartened. They had changed. So I could see where you hardcore Metallica fans felt they were giving in to what was going on. And I gotta say, they and Megadeth were the two bands that stood up against the grunge era. And Metallica could have... Megadeth didn't give an inch, to their credit. Pantera, by the way, didn't give an inch. But you're talking about ones that are coming out of the 80s. Metallica, they seemed to give an inch with their logo. They seemed to give an inch with their hairstyles. They seemed to, I don't want to say they gave an inch musically. They musically changed a bit. And bands need to be allowed to grow. And the fans don't want you to. So it's really, as an artist, your years are going by and you're still, if you're still connected with music, you're growing and changing, things are happening. Fans have a real reluctance to allow that to happen. They really, they don't want to see those changes happen. Yet at the same time, bands have been accused of being stale and not growing and changing. So it's a real catch-22 for the band. And like I said, personally, I thought the Load record was amazing. But then again, one of my favorite Motorhead records is Another Perfect Day, which is hated by Motorhead fans. And I'm a Motorhead fan. But that record was amazing with Brian Robertson. But was it a Motorhead record in the traditional sense? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some amazing stuff on there. And just to, hold on a second. I got to pause this. So in closing on the Metallica thing is there is no band more deserving of their success, and they should be given that respect. Because you want to talk about breaking down the wall for metal and making true metal accepted by the masses. Metallica did that for all of us. So bravo. And any question that I've been a supporter or not a supporter or appreciate what they do, you go back to Heavy Metal Mania. I remember fighting. They didn't have videos, fighting to get Metallica represented and metal represented on Heavy Metal Mania. And if you were a regular Heavy Metal Mania watcher, during a credit roll, or I can't know, was there a credit roll? No, credit roll was, I got Motorhead Killed by Death because they wouldn't play Killed by Death. So they played a little piece of it on a credit roll. But I talked about this hot, up-and-coming band, Metallica, and they played a little bit of a live clip because Metallica didn't have videos at that point. They started making videos much later. So, and then they really got into it. So that's my history with Metallica. I haven't spoken to James and the guys in a long time. I haven't seen them. The last time I saw them, Twisted Sister was playing the Cow Palace in San Francisco. That's their backyard, the Bay Area. And it was 1984. Stay Hungry was huge. We were headlining, and they came down to see us, say hey. And they were, the last time I saw them, we were hanging out on the bus after the show. They were congratulating us on the success of the album. And, we went our separate ways. This is the business. If you're not touring together, if you're not working together, you rarely get to see people. And never had any contact with the band again. So with the chance that they're seeing this, guys, nothing but respect, nothing but appreciation, nothing but pure joy for all the success that you've experienced. No one deserves it more. All right, until next time. Now, I'm supposed to, to give a bonus, a bit of bonus. So, you know what? That Jussie Smollett thing, I've spoken about it a little bit. People reacted to that. If you're a subscriber, I'm going to talk about that just for a few minutes. So just if you're a subscriber, a little bonus footage for you. If you're not, hey, maybe it's time that you did subscribe. Great stuff. Gas Digital Media, they've got the best shows. So subscribe and you get access to all that stuff and bonus footage, and you'll get everything first. So consider subscribing to the show. Until next time on I Want to Talk, I'm Dee Snider.